Entitled kids come in many shapes and sizes, but they have one thing in common: a lack of respect for you and your property. They might seem harmless, but at any moment they could destroy your possessions or ruin your day. A couple of people are walking their dog in the park when they're approached by a couple of entitled children. You'll be shocked by the lack of concern their dad shows for their safety. Our fan-submitted story: a disability worker goes to watch a movie in the theater, only to find their seat has already been taken. Who is sitting in it, and what reason do they give for refusing to move? You'll only find out by watching this episode of VoiceyHere's Entitled Parents. This story was called Let My Kids Pet Your Wolf. Me and my husband have 2 dogs. We love our dogs as much as we will love our child. After a lot of searching, saving and hoping, we each finally got our dream dogs. My husband got his black Labrador, and I got my Alaskan Malamute. Now, some things about Malamute, which is important to know for this incident. Malamutes take great resemblance to Siberian Huskies, but they are larger and have a lot more muscle. They do resemble wolves, but trust me, you can tell they are not wolves. Malamutes can get up to be over 100 pounds. They are large teddy bears and love people. I adore my dog and love to cuddle up with him. Anyway, back to the story. My husband and I took our dogs to the dog park to let them run off some energy. Our lab loves to run, play fetch and jump around on the play equipment set up for dogs to play on. My dog? He does his own thing, wanders around, runs laps when he feels like it, and overall just chills out. The dog park is very large and the perfect place for our dogs. My husband was on the other side of the park with our lab, and I was on the opposite, following my fluffy boy around, when I hear voices.
Wolfie! Look, it's a Wolfie!
Kid 1 and Kid 2. The kids, I'm guessing, were between 5 and 7 years old, both boys. My boy, noticing them, happily prances over and starts sniffing them through the gate. He loves people.
I wanna pet the wolf!
I walk over with a smile on, trying to be polite. The ED was a large, beer belly, going bald, typical looking dad. If I had to guess, late 30s.
Be careful, wolves can bite!
I remember it being weird that 1, he seemed to say it in a worried voice, yet didn't pull his kids away, and 2, that this adult couldn't tell that this was a dog. Maybe he was just messing with his boys? Oh, he's not a wolf, he's a friendly doggy who loves attention. ED snapped at me.
No, I know a wolf when I see one. That's a wolf. Don't lie to me.
My dog is still sniffing the kids through the gate, whining and wanting to be pet. No sir, he's an Alaskan Malamute, not a wolf.
I wanna pet your Wolfie!
Nowadays, I happily let people pet him, but at the time he wasn't quite a year old yet, and we were still training him. He's almost 100 pounds, and these were little kids. He can easily hurt them unintentionally. I'm sorry, but he's a pretty big dog. I don't want him to hurt you guys on accident.
It's fine, they can pet him.
The ED starts to walk the kids towards the gate to enter the dog park. Sir, I am not comfortable with him being around little kids yet. We are still training him.
My kids will be fine. Just shut up and keep him still while my kids pet him.
Now I'm ticked. Not only did this guy not even ask to pet my dog, but he seriously expected me to just hold on to my still in training 100-pound dog while he gets excited about meeting new people. I said no, keep your kids out of the park, he can hurt them. ED stopped and completely snapped at me.
Listen, you stupid bee. If my boys want to pet your wolf, they can pet him. Shut the F up and hold him.
At this point, my husband heard the yelling and ran over with our lab happily following along. Are you okay? What's wrong?
This bee won't let my kids pet a wolf.
My husband does not like confrontation in the slightest, but he is always quick to defend me. Do not speak to my wife that way. He is a large dog and we are still training him. If she says no, it means no. The entire time my husband is yelling, the kids keep trying to call our dog over to them. But my husband grabbed our lab by his collar and I grabbed my Malamute, trying to keep him away from the gate. Me to my husband, forget this, we should just leave. Thankfully his truck was on the other side of the park.
No, my kids will pet the wolf.
Husband looked at our fur babies. Boys, wanna race? Every time we say, wanna race, they perk up and run alongside husband, kinda as a game. We use it to get them to leave the park whenever we say, rather than drag them out when they don't want to leave. My husband ran ahead with them to the truck while I hurried behind. I am very out of shape. The ED was screaming and cursing while Kid 1 and Kid 2 cried. I felt really bad for them. They weren't mean or acted entitled, but I just couldn't let them pet my boy without a fear of him accidentally jumping all over them and hurting them. We got them in the bed of the truck before Edie was even halfway through the park, still screaming. I can't remember where the kids were. We got in the truck and pulled away right as Edie reached the gate on our side of the park. I flipped him off as we drove away. We never saw them at the park again, thank goodness. It's our favorite place to take them to play. My boy has been trained up a lot more now. Took a long time since Malamutes are stubborn as heck, and now I have no problem letting kids pet him, as long as I'm near him. Not the most exciting story. No cops called, never saw him again. Glad we never experienced that again at the park. Even the best behaved dogs that have even been trained for years can end up causing harm in situations like this. Especially considering how big the Malamute is. You just don't want to risk it, you know? A parent like that, you definitely know he's gonna sue you if something goes wrong. You know something's not right when he's like, "Careful kids, the wolf can bite you, but go on ahead and pet it." I think they were wise to just get as far away as possible as soon as they could. That's the general principle we should all apply when it comes to entitled parents. This story was called, "I think I've finally found a way to combat entitled people." So I literally just started learning American Sign Language. I know 10 signs. Don't even know the alphabet yet, just some everyday words. I drove my sister to the dentist so I could take her home afterwards, since she was going to be woozy. It wasn't going to be that long, so I opted to just wait in the waiting room until it was finished. After she got called in, I just started playing games on my phone. A while later, a kid of about 8 or 9, maybe 12, I'm horrible at guessing kids' ages, ran into the office ahead of his mum by about a minute. He makes a beeline for me and asks if he can play on my phone. I say, "Sorry, I promised my parents I would never let anyone use it, and I can't break that promise." He seems upset and asks, "Why?" I just respond, "Well, it could get damaged or lost, and I just don't want to take the risk. Sorry." He stomps his feet with a grumph and runs to his mum, who has just walked in. Mommy, he won't let me play with his phone," he shouts. She looks at me and walks up to me. "Excuse me, did you just say he can't play with your phone?" Now, at this point, I know she's going to be a pain in the neck to deal with, so I decide to try something that will probably not work. I pretend I'm deaf and cannot read lips. I didn't think it would work since there are about 6 other people in the office, and 2 receptionists, who must have heard me speaking before, but I figure, what the heck. I sign, "I know a little sign language," while shaking my head. "What? What do you mean, no? And why aren't you talking?" "It's nice to meet you," I sign. "What are you doing? Are you threatening me?" she shrieks. I figure I should just give up and tell her to get lost, but one of the other people waiting comes up and takes her attention. "Ma'am, he's deaf, he's using sign language," the wonderful man says. Oh boy. The kid speaks up. "Nuh-uh, he was talking before." The man looks to the kid and says, "Watch, I'll prove it." At this point I think I'm in trouble. The man turns to me and speaks as well as signs. "Are you deaf?" I'm hoping he's playing along and helping me out, so I sign, "Yes." "See?" he says to the woman. You would think this would convince her to back off, but no. She just homes in on the fact that I denied her kid my phone. "Well then ask him why the heck he doesn't let my kid use his phone." I turn to the guy as if asking him to interpret. He plays along and translates what she said. I sign back, "It's nice to meet you slowly. My hard of hearing phone is deaf." I learned the sign for phone on the spot. It's exactly what you think it is. He turns to the woman and says, "He said he promised his parents he'd never let anyone use his phone, so it doesn't get damaged or lost." The kid goes ballistic. "But that's what he was saying before. He said it. I heard him." The mother seems to realize that her kid may not be being truthful. He was though. And also realized she was bothering me for no good reason. "Hush, Timmy. I'm sorry he bothered you. Please accept my apology," the woman says to me. Again, I turn to the interpreter. "She says she's sorry," he says and signs. I don't know how to sign "no worries" or "it's fine" or anything like that. The only sign I can think of is fingerspell, which he translates as "it's no problem." She walks off to the counter with her kid and I sign "thank you" to the man. He responds by saying and signing, no problem. I mimic his no problem sign just to make sure I get it right, and he nods and signs yes. As a Voicey veteran, you need to use every tool possible to defend yourselves against entitled parents, and it looks like we may have a new contender for a weapon in the war. Apparently it's sign language, or just pretending you're deaf and can't hear them. You know, I wonder if just good old-fashioned ignoring them is actually the way to go. We don't see many people using that, but I think that actually could be super effective. Alright boys, it looks like it's time to learn a bit of sign language, so if you ever encounter an entitled parent and you're all out of stock images, now you have a backup plan. This fan-submitted story was called EP in Wrong Movie Theater. This happened for a matinee showing of Aladdin. Will Smith as the genie version. The cast: me, coworker 1, coworker 2, entitled parent, and her kids. Let's begin. Our story begins with a minor misunderstanding between me and the parents of a client of mine. I work as a companion for people that get benefits from the Division of Developmental Disabilities in USA. The company specializes in providing social experiences and sometimes light supervision for work, so I was late getting to the movie to join my coworkers and their clients. Thankfully, they offered to keep an eye on my client while I got to the movie theater. This means I was unaware of the previous drama that happened before I arrived. I missed the first 15 minutes. That is not new for me, as many times the audio descriptor headsets don't work, so I have to get the staff to fix them while the movie is playing, as I don't want my clients to miss out. This theater has a touchscreen to choose your seat. It shows the already purchased seats and won't let someone click on an already purchased seat. I asked the clerk for the 12:30 movie and if he recalled a large group of people with companions wearing the same name tags as me. He said yes and then brought up the theater they were in and got me a seat in the same row as them. He was very sweet and apologized that the trailers had already played and the movie started. He wanted to give me a discount, but the chain did not allow for that sort of thing. As I said, the main reason I was there was to provide sufficient supervision for the client. Note, there were 2 showings of this particular movie, the 12:30 noon and the 12:15 noon at the same location but on opposite sides of the hall. I found the theater room, noted the seat number, and went inside, not suspecting a thing. I find the row, gently touch the shoulder of my client and let him know I am there, and then look for the lighted seat number. I expected it to be empty. It was occupied. Okay, not a problem, I just figured that one of the other clients had moved to another unoccupied seat. The clerk had assured me that only my group was in that row. There was a small problem. I noted that some of the bodies were much smaller than the age of our clients. Here is our entitled kids. I walk down the row to find an empty seat. Not suspicious yet. Then I stumble on a pair of bright yellow shoes with no feet inside. Yet those shoes were that bright I could slightly see them when I looked down. I sit down in the end of the row and notice that there is a child in the seat beside me. There are no children in our group. C1 and C2 would have let me know. As the seat was definitely not my seat number, I went to find the number on my seat. As I do so, I stumble on the sneakers again. That is where I meet EP. Excuse me, but is that seat X?
Yes it is, but I purchased this seat.
But I just purchased that seat from the clerk up front.
No, I purchased this seat and the seats that those rude people over there are sitting in. Obviously the theater double sold the seats, and I'm not moving my kids again. If you continue to harass me, I'm going to complain to the manager.
Not wanting to ruin the movie for our clients, I simply go into the row behind my client, find an empty seat there. Did I mention I stumbled on the sneakers again? So I watch the movie, then escort my client out when the lights go up. I did look for EP and her entitled kids, but they must have left before the lights came back on. Coworker 1 and I talked for a moment about the entitled parent. It turns out she had an altercation with our group. When C1 looked at EP's ticket, the room number did not match. C1 tried to explain the mix-up. Apparently the EP did not care and stayed in the same row and theater with her kids, threatening to complain to the manager about double selling the tickets. C1 said that I should complain, but I declined. While I was saying goodbye to C2 and his client, C1 went to the front desk to let the clerk know about EP. Her reason was that if EP did ever decide to call and complain, then our side would be on record. So I also added my part of the story to the manager. Thankfully, EP did not ruin the movie for our clients. All they talked about was how much they liked the new version of Aladdin. Also how the cartoon movies compared to it. That is what is important to me. And that should be what's important to you as well. You can't let people like entitled parents ruin your day and bring you down. To handle that, so much of it is tied to expectations and perspective. If you just figure there's always going to be people like that, and you focus on the positive experiences you're having, you're going to handle it a lot better. There are always going to be entitled parents, and you can't control them. You can control how you react and how much you choose to enjoy your day. If you'd like your story to be narrated by me, don't forget to visit the subreddit r/VoiceyHere, link below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.